quote-unquote conservative champions aren't pushing for?
It certainly could be.
Because that's a parachute deal. That's a sweetheart deal to pay that much money for your health insurance. So
it's the same as any federal employee. Has the same program.
That's a non sequitur.
Right.
That's still a sweetheart deal. And why aren't conservatives pushing for a change there?
As far as it would be fine with me. I don't do this job for the pay or for the benefits. I'm trying to do something right for the country, so it doesn't really matter in that regard as far as I'm concerned. I'm just saying that most people are treated the same as what every other federal employee is.
There is a poll that came out the other day from Rasmussen. Said about only 17% of Americans believe the United States government has the consent of the governed. Congress right now has an approval rating of 6%.
That would be staff and relatives, yes.
Yes. You've been in Congress a long time. Congressman Boswell, who is your new debating partner, or will be shortly, as you're running against him. Both of you are incumbents. You've had to play musical chairs for the newly reapportioned congressional seats. With Congress and congressional ratings that low, how do you make the case? How will either of you make the case to keep the job?
Well, I think it's going to be a clear choice between someone who actually wants to take the tough votes to actually change direction of this country for our kids and our grandchildren, and one who are basically who has voted for all of this additional spending, whether it be the TARP, whether it be the stimulus, whether it be the president's health care plan, whether it be cap and trade, all of those huge expansions of the federal government, or myself, who has opposed all of those things and who really wants to finally change the direction of the country, because this is about my kids, my grandchildren. It's about your kids and your grandchildren, the future of this country. And I honestly believe that we don't have that much time. The miracle, you call it compound interest, or what you see actuarially going forward, the news is very bleak unless we do something modest today that will make huge changes for the future.
This is Phil. Good morning, Phil.
Morning, Jan.
Hi.
Boy, there is so much to say and so little time to be able to say it. I keep hearing everybody blaming the Tea Party. I am not a Tea Party person, even though I am very conservative. But I'm really surprised that some of the reps in the House don't stand up and say, darn right, blame it on us. We'll take the blame because we had enough guts to stand up and say no more. Mm-hmm. That's why we were overwhelmingly voted into office. Why don't they turn it around? Get on the offense. Being a Republican for so many years now, I am just so tired of Republicans sitting on their butt. Get up and fight.
What would that look like?
Well, it probably wouldn't look very good if I was in there.
All right. Hey, thank you. He's expressing the mainstream culture right now, as you well know, because you listen, you get feedback, scared and extremely angry.
You're exactly right. And, I come home every weekend. I go out and listen to people, interact, try to hear what people are saying, what they're feeling.
But I agree with that poll. I don't feel like I'm represented.
I couldn't agree more. And I tell you what, if you hang around in Washington very long, you can really get distorted in there. And it's obviously, it's a different culture. It's a whole different idea of there is a prism of government that people look through. Everything is looked through government. And rather than some of us that came out of the private sector, small business people who understand who actually creates wealth in this country, who creates jobs, who invests and who saves, and they look at everything as government being more active and doing more is good.
More than just doing good. I was just watching a soundbite from an NBC reporter who said,
Ezra, you wrote on your blog that the worse this gets, the less likely Congress will act to stop the bleeding. Why don't people look at that as an act of treason?
I should say Susie Kim wrote that. We have more writers than me just on the site. But
basically saying the failure to increase government spending is an act of treason.
what we're doing to our kids is morally wrong, let alone economic suicide for this country. We cannot keep piling up this debt on our kids and our grandchildren, borrowing more money from China, putting our future in jeopardy. And again, Jan, the way that we get out of this is to actually have a private sector economy that has confidence of a stable government that's not going to punish them for every time they invest $1 or hire somebody else and try to do something good to grow the economy. Right now, everybody just looks at it and says, if I do something good, I'm going to be punished for it. And if I don't produce, if I, become more dependent on government, that's a good thing. That's why when I'm happy.
Congressman Tom Latham, we have a short timeout. Come back with the last segment. Go to the phone lines in a moment at 284-1040 or 800-469-4295 in a moment. Gotta go real fast. So let's go right to the phone lines. And this is Jeff. Good morning, Jeff. Real fast.
Okay. If as far as this
Super Congress
it goes, it's an illegal fourth branch of government they've created. If you do a Google search on disturbing Super Congress, you can see where Ron Paul goes through it. It only allows up or down votes, no filibuster. They can't add or subtract from the bills. They can no longer initiate bills from the House. The guy's put himself out of a job.
What do you think about? How did you respond real fast?
Well, I voted against it. That's one of the reasons. We do have a similar type committee when we look at BRAC as far as the Military Base Closing Commission. It's not unprecedented, shall we say.
Okay. You voted against?
I voted against it, yes.
Congressman Tom Latham, thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Jan.
Back after the news at the top of the hour, Herman Cain is scheduled to join us right here at 1040.